Hey everyone, my name is Zoran Sahir, and I'm of course joined by Yami Gautam for her latest film on Z5 globally. Thank you so much for joining me, Yami.
Hi, thank you, Zoran, for having me on your show.
Not at all. Wonderful to have you on Urban Asian. And my first question to you, of course, Yami, is you've done such a breadth of diverse work, whether it was Uri, whether it was Vicky Donor, A Thursday, and of course Kabul, which is so diverse I can't even start to tell you. And then now, of course, you
You.
have lost. You have lost yourself as an actor with so much of but tell me why this script and sort of what made you kind of draw towards doing this?
Thank you. I wouldn't mind getting lost in good set of work. That's any actor's dream. The script, Zoran, I love the script. I love my part, and I wanted to work with Tony Da. I thought a film like this can be only made with the kind of sensibilities that Dada has as a director, the kind of aesthetics that that would be needed to make a film like this. While it looks like a thriller on the face of it, but it's much more than that. It has an undertone of human drama at the same time. It's not your that kind of thriller which is just about some kind of murder mystery or something's happening. I've been a part of that, of course. Like a Thursday was a different thriller,
Yeah.
but so the kind of sensitivity I think that it was needed from a filmmaker. I thought Dada, of course, has it. I'd watched Pink just like everybody else, and I loved it. And I loved Vidhi. I love the character. I love the part that she's a crime beat journalist and all those things. But she's not loud. She's not unreal. She could be
Hmm.
like any other just person walking the street doing her job.
Yeah.
And I love that approach that he had for me as a character that we've seen journalists before on screen. So what makes her different? And of course the script.
Yeah. Well, I think, you rightly put it across. You said there's a lot of sensitivity, there's a bit of an undertone of so many other
Yeah.
layers and aspects than just sort of being a crime thriller. And I think, for one, the trailer is so engrossing and so sort of enticing. The one interesting that I really found is because, in a sense, you're a crime reporter, but also like you're fighting for a bit of a social cause and justice.
Mm.
It's amazing how even the line that says, as a journalist, you fight for something that is right or something that is true. When you were approaching this character, was that a bit of a conscious choice? I mean, where do you draw the line, really?
No, no, you have to draw the line. You have to understand. You have to treat it like a job, which
Yeah.
I do as an actor,
Mm.
and approach, because that's when you'll reason out better logic, because you
Yeah.
want to be. Uh, at least I like to approach a character like that. I like in my head, it's almost like creating a parallel human being in your imagination. That's so. This is exactly the place where I sit and I do my homework. After, of course, it's my home after marriage, and I read a lot, and then basis what I read, I just go into imagination, and you're almost giving personality, features, body language, everything to the character. And that the line that you're talking about, it is a very interesting line, and I think it's a line which I'm sure a lot of journalists especially are familiar with that idea of finding yourself in a space where that's the truth. So this is my job, I have to put
Yeah.
it out. But
Yeah.
then sometimes it's not as easy as it looks. The ripple effect that it can have can be
Yeah.
much more graver than putting it out there just like that. So that which might not be the right thing to do. So sometimes doing right and being truthful can be two different things. And thank God I'm not a journalist. Thank God I'm not. I'm on the other side. Um, so but it was challenging, but a good challenge for me as an actor to play a character like Vidhi.
Yeah, well, it's never easy to be a journalist for sure, that I can tell you. Anything but easy. No, but I think, this film is such a massive and an incredible ensemble cast. You obviously have Pankaj Kapoorji, who's incredible in, of course, theater and with the kind
Yeah,
of breadth that he's done. And I think someone we've not seen for quite some time, Rahul Khanna.
yeah.
And I was shocked to see him and pleasantly surprised as well. What was it like working with him?
Of course, with Pankaj ji, I mean, I've shared it with all your colleagues. And I think my excitement was, I'm sure, must be pretty obvious on set. I
Yeah.
have troubled Pankaj ji by, of course, I didn't want to make it a question answer kind of a thing, but you end up, because you want somewhere that you want to hear from the maestro, you want to hear from the genius himself that which is your favorite film of yours, which is your favorite scene of yours, which is what the one which you didn't like, and all those things. And every time there would be something different, and he would just laugh or smile and talk about times where asking for script was like not really encouraged. He said I
Yeah.
started working back then, but he said for me the mantra was a script. I cannot
Yeah.
work on a film without a script,
Yeah.
which means even if I have to be out of work, which he said back then there were barely any opportunities. Like, you guys are so lucky today, you have so many opportunities, but back then we also had to feed our family, and you know, and so someone like him who's with got so many principles and so many ideals, and yet he paved and carved literally such a strong niche for himself. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And Rahul, of course, that's a name that brings smiles to a lot of men and women and girls out there. I've seen it.
He's everyone's eye candy, apparently.
and
I've
and,
been asked to ask this
and
question.
I know, I'm sure it's coming from somewhere. And let me clarify that, and make it absolutely worth by saying he's absolutely all those things that people perceive
Hmm.
Rahul to be. He's really sweet, very well raised, very
Hmm.
courteous, very chivalrous, very and a really good actor. I thought it was so refreshing to see him in a character like this.
Yeah.
But the way he approached the character, the way he played his part, so nonchalant, so calmly, I think, which was,
Sure. Yeah.
he did all the right things, I think, for this character, and such an easy guy to work with, such a nice person to have on set, and no qualms, no airs about anything. So all the girls, all the women out there, yes, he's a really, really nice guy inside out.
Well, I think, Yami, also when you're approaching a script that is as sensitive as this, I mean, when you had something like a Thursday, of course, it was a socially relevant film, and of course, in its own right, got a bigger message to kind of give out there, essentially, because the trailer starts and the film, of course, talks about how many people are lost every day in India, and I think sort of hiding and missing. And it is a serious problem. It's a bit of a serious issue. When you are approaching a subject that is as sensitive as this, do you have aspects of your sort of your personal life that are kind of you bring to the character?
um See, they could be, even if some you're not directly associated or you've not experienced, be it a Thursday with which
Sure.
which spoke about
Yeah.
violence against women, or a film
Yeah.
like Lost.
Yeah.
But you are aware of stories around you. You're aware of people sharing their experiences, or you've grown up. It's not, you can't be immune to such things. So
Sure.
while you don't have to, as I said, you can't be carried away in emotions.
Yeah.
You have to know the sur of the scene or the sur of the film and the character. But you're human. We're all humans at the end of the day. We're actors. I mean, behind that makeup and mask, there's a person also, and you see how much of you uh, sometimes a scene demands, which is
Yeah.
personal, and there can be times where something can be personal, something can be very emotional. Thursday was very emotional. I think a very, very emotional journey, especially the last 15 minutes of the film. I'm sure
Sure.
that's something which you don't have to be only a woman to feel it. You can be a brother, a sister, you can be a son, a father, a mother. So I think I was very aware that that is what my character is representing in those moments. That
Right.
true I have to be
Yeah.
to myself, to the character, to the person in me, and to the actor that I am, and even with Lost.
Yeah.
But again, as I said, you have to be aware. You can't
Yeah.
be carried away with emotions, because there is a camera, there is a technique, there's a language that even a camera has. Sometimes you feel कि मैंने तो इतना रोया या मैंने इतना इमोट किया, but it's feeling different on the monitor, you
Right.
know that's
Yeah.
because the director wished to shoot it in a different way. So all that you see on screen, and I'm sure people are now interested to know about the process behind. It's all an amalgamation of what is happening here and what the lens is capturing. You know,
True.
so my job is to create that fine line and that fine balance of this much is me and this much I know is something which is coming from a work, or what you say, prep or a homework. For
Sure.
example, a very very different example, like a Bala, that I don't know if you watched that film of mine,
Yes, of
but
course.
that's again a character which I don't associate myself with, and yet I know I was representing a huge section of society,
Mm.
through the arc of the character. But at the heart of it, no, that's not me. I'm not very savvy the way she is, or I'm not that dramatic person and all. So I knew, I was aware, okay, this is something which I'm aware of, the real me or the real reflection of society, and this is what needs to be worked. All those things that she had about herself or whatever made her
Yeah.
were all worked upon. So it's that, finding that balance.
Well, I have to ask you this question because you are playing a crime reporter in this film, and unfortunately, journalism is at the most questionable pinnacle in the current society that we live in. And there is no doubt of a question of a doubt in my mind, especially Indian journalism, of course. Unfortunately, sometimes in the name of what is news and what is meant to be newsworthy is just anything and everything. And everyone claims to be a journalist nowadays with a touchscreen and a smartphone. Did you sort of emulate any specific journalist? Did you have a kind of a framework that you were working around, or did you just sort of say, you know what, listen, it's a blank canvas. I'm gonna go with an open mind, have a reading with the director, and then boom.
Even if ever have to do a biopic,
Yeah,
even that will have to be, that can't be an imitation
yeah,
of that person. It's just a thought. I'm going to as extreme as a biopic, for example.
yeah.
You can take some mannerism, something, but that's not mimicry, it's not imitation. It still has to be your own extension of your understanding of that character. It's still a character.
True.
So definitely in something like, which is a fictional character, and while there's so many examples, of course, around, no, I didn't have any mind or any face in front of my eyes or imagination that, okay, this is whom the role is modeled on. No, there wasn't.
Yeah,
I only had
yeah.
one film in mind, and it's one of my one of my favorite films, especially when it comes to those realistic films, is Spotlight.
Oh wow, yeah.
um,
Fantastic.
I think that's a fantastic film, and just the way I thought in my head, when you watch the film, you feel there's just camera maybe somewhere in the room, and they just it's just capturing the conversations and the soul. And but it's so simple, and yet it's so impactful by the end of the film.
True.
You feel it. That is what, if I have to really draw a reference, that's the only reference I had. I didn't have any person or anybody, and that's exactly a very conscious decision
True.
that Dada and I we had. Dada said, I want you to be, Yami, less is more, as
Yeah.
natural as possible. Just like in real life, of course, there are moments when you're angry, you'll flare up, that all that is different. But otherwise, as normal and as human and as natural, I want my Vidhi to be.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said less is more, and I think that is the flavor of everything that happens in OTT platforms nowadays, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Amazon Prime, whether it's Z5 Global, like, of course, Lost. What is your take? And I think, do you sort of, as an actor, make a conscious decision nowadays? Would you rather now sort of walk towards doing more films or work on OTT platforms? Is that sort of a thing that kind of goes at the back of your mind? Because some of the subjects and content revolving around OTT platforms is phenomenal, you know?
No, it's all great. It's all really good. Whatever we're watching, I'm saying globally, whatever we are
Yeah,
watching. Um, no, that's not how I take it. In fact, as an actor, my job is, or my wish, my desire is the film to reach as many audience, as many people as possible. Cinema will always remain first love, to
sure.
to make it unfiltered. That is how
Yeah.
films were originally meant to be always watched.
Very true.
So even if I'm watching a film on OTT platform, I'm sorry. I make sure that there is no interruption, or I don't have to pause it unless I'm really bored or I'm not liking what I'm watching. And as an actor, I would never want that demarcation. I would never want कि अच्छा ये ना film मैं,
Hmm.
unless of course it's a pre-sale or for some reason the economic and math of it has already been taken care of, which is the producer's prerogative. But as an
Sure.
actor, I would want to be part of those films which are as good as showing in theaters or coming on a streaming platform. But the whole idea is it should reach an audience, a good audience. And
True.
I'd love to do a best of both. I'd love to
Yeah.
dabble between both the mediums. I would love that. I know it's good. It's a huge challenge now to bring people to theaters, but that's a challenge. But I
Yeah.
think we must take headstrong, and hopefully that'll push us to do even better. Because
True.
even on OTT, while there's so many options,
Yeah.
exactly the reason why I need to be brilliant to stand out, because you
Yeah.
don't want to get lost in all those options. You
Lost and
want to
lost.
stand out.
Well, Yami, you're amazing at whatever you do. So as long as you're there, we'll be there to watch your film. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you
Wishing
very
you all
much.
the very best and
Thank
looking
you so
forward to.
much. Zoran.
Cheers. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Thank you.